Hey friends, welcome back to Belle's Library. Today I am announcing my participation in the April TBR Clear Out Readathon that is being put on by Katie over at Books and Things. Make sure and check that out. I will put a link for her down in the description. I wanted to share with you guys 10 books that I've chosen off of my TBR to use for this challenge. Now, I probably am going to be taking even more off of my TBR during the month of April because the books that I've chosen, probably at least half of them are things that I really think I'm going to DNF. So if you look behind me, these two shelves to, whatever, the ones right behind my head, okay? All of that, those are 5 shelf bookshelves. So there's 10 little compartments to these shelves full of books that are on my TBR actually. The rest of my library is organized by books that I know I want to keep, even if I haven't read them yet. But the things behind me are things I'm not exactly sure I'm going to keep. They're things that I pick up when I go to thrift shops or garage sales or Barnes & Noble or somebody gives it to me or whatever. Little free libraries, that's where I stick all of those books until I've had a chance to read them and see if I want to add them to the rest of my library. So I have a lot to get rid of from this TBR shelf. There's probably 250 books altogether on my TBR of things that I'm not sure about. And I would like to free up some space for some more things that I know I want to keep in my library permanently. So this is a great challenge for me. So I'm going to share with you guys the 10 books that I chose. And then, like I said, I'm probably going to come on in April and tell you that I have DNF'd some of these and have chosen more. So I'm going to try to keep on my little cart here 10 books at all times during the month of April that I want to clear out. And by clearing out, I will either take them off TBR and move them to another place in my library if I find that they do want to keep them, or I will, get rid of them, donate them, hand them over to a friend, put them in a little free library, whatever. Okay, now adding to this challenge is the fact that I am going to be gone in April for 10 days? I'm going to England, like I've said before, but I think I'm going to be there 10 days, which means I probably need to add another couple of days for exhaustion and preparation, which means I'm probably not going to have, 2 weeks out of the month to do my normal, several hours a day worth of reading like I do. So what I think I'm going to do is take a few of these books with me that I am pretty positive I will not be keeping. And then that way I could read them on my trip and then leave them in England for someone else to enjoy. Donate them to a charity shop or leave them in a little free library or something. I'll figure out something. So that's my plan. All right, so here are the 10 books so far that I am planning to go through in April. All right, number 1 is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. I know nothing about this book. It just sounds like a book about a family. I don't even know where I got it. Number 2 is Castle Rackrent by Mariah Edgeworth. Honestly, I have not yet even read Mariah Edgeworth, but she's somebody that Jane Austen read, and so I picked her up, as being a Jane fan. We'll see. The third one is The Old Maid, the 50s by Edith Wharton. This is something that I picked up a few, actually, by Edith Wharton because I was trying to read more American authors this year. And so she's someone that I chose to see if I like her. I don't know. I've read a couple of things, but they weren't memorable. So we'll see. All right, the next step is Drawn from New England by Tasha Tudor. And I do think that I will probably, keep this in my collection because I love Tasha Tudor as an artist. So honestly, I just chose this one because it's small. it's a one I can just read, in an hour or whatever and enjoy and then put into my collection. Next one up is, this is part 2 to this series. It's a children's series by Anna James called Pages and Company, and this one's called The Lost Fairy Tales. Last year I read the first in this series and it was cute. Honestly, I picked these up from Barnes & Noble because the cover art was adorable and I thought maybe my kids might enjoy them. I had one of my kids go through the first one and they DNF'd it. They weren't really interested, but they might be a little too young for my kids. I don't know, but they might like them when they're older, right? That's kind of how it goes. But anyway, they were cute and I loved the art and I did like the story. It was cute. So, I said cute 40 times. It's really cute. Moving on. This one is Chains by Laurie Halsey Anderson. And I chose this one again because I was trying to, a couple of years ago, someone had asked me to give some recommendations for like children's fiction or older children's fiction. And I just really didn't know anything besides the same old stuff that everybody, recommends. Those of my kids who do read have just read all kinds of stuff. And some of my kids don't read. And I don't know. It's not that I don't pay attention to what my kids read. It's just that I don't read everything they read. So what comes into our house, I kind of skim through and make sure that it doesn't have anything in there that I don't want them to be, reading. And then they just read stuff. So I don't really know because I don't read a lot of children's fiction. It's just not a genre that I super enjoy. So anyway, that's where I came up with this one, a couple others that I picked up a couple years ago at Barnes & Noble. And so this is just one I haven't got to yet. But I think it'll be a quick read, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to reduce this craziness behind me as fast as possible. All right, next up is The Dress Lodger. This is a book I've had forever. This is by Sherry Holman. I've had this forever, years and years I've had this book. It's a story that takes place in right around the beginning of the Victorian era in England, a city quarantined by cholera, and it says it's a historical thriller. So I don't know how I feel about thrillers. I guess it would just depend on, when I think of thrillers, I think of something that's like gory and gross, but maybe that's more like horror. I don't know. Maybe thriller is just something that's suspenseful to a high degree. I don't know. So we'll see. Next one up, Why is Sargasso Sea by Jean Rice. And this is something that I have read before. And I thought that I would want to get it and put it in my permanent collection. This is a kind of a prequel to Jane Eyre. Obviously, not written by the Brontes. It's something modern. I think she wrote this in the 60s. And it tells the story of, have you read Jane Eyre? It tells the story of what's going on in Mr. Rochester's attic, if you're not familiar with Jane Eyre. And so, anyway, it tells the story of how that all came to be. And I've read this before and liked it. And so I picked it up to read it again. And then if I still like it, I'll stick it in my, permanent library. All right, next up, The Lighthouse Keeper's Daughter by Hazel Gaynor. Now, I read something by Hazel Gaynor, and I think, yes, it was The Cottingley Secret. I read this a few years ago, The Cottingley Secret, and loved it. It was a story about kind of that legend of the fairies. Are you familiar with that? The Cottingley fairies, look it up, in England. And so she tells a fictional story about what was also a fictional story. Sorry for those spoilers about the Cottingley fairies. And so anyway, I liked that author. And so I picked up like everything she wrote. And then as I've DNF'd things over the years, I just like did a TBR clean out without even actually reading. I've actually gotten rid of several of the books by her. Oh, I also read her one on the Titanic, The Girl Who Came Home. I liked that one too. So this one, The Lighthouse Keeper's Daughter, we'll see. There was one that I started of hers that I did not enjoy, but now I can't remember which one it is. So we'll see. Maybe, is she the one that wrote the one about Grace Kelly? I can't remember now. All right, moving on. Then the last one is A Woman Alone by John A. Harrison. I'm pretty sure that I got this from my mom. Yeah, I did. So my mom and I both like to read these, stories about women, homesteaders, or, women in the West. My mom lives in Oregon, in Eastern Oregon, which is the Wild West area. And so we like to read these, or she likes to find these stories for me, and I like to read them after she does usually. But anyway, so this is one about a place that's close to where I grew up on the Columbia River. And my mom and I both really want to go there. It's called Mary Hill Museum. Anyway, this kind of tells the story of how that came to be. So that's my 10 for April to start with. Like I said, there will probably be more added to that as I go through a few pages and I'm like, meh, not going to read this. So these were some of the ones that I chose either because I'm pretty sure that I'm going to DNF, or they were small, right? They were short books. And so I figured I could get through them in a day or two. So this is just the beginning. I have a feeling I'm going to do really good with this challenge. But we'll see, because I'm traveling. And even though I often take 2 or 3 books with me when I go to England, I hardly read at all, because on the plane, it's just too much going on. Too much distraction for me to try to read on the plane. And then in my hotels, I am so exhausted by the time I'm done doing whatever I did that day that I just read for a short time. But I'm taking my daughter with me, who is my most bookwormish daughter. And so I have a feeling that she is just going to kind of want to chill and read sometimes. And so I'm not going to feel so obligated to like completely fill her schedule with a bunch of crazy things, because she is the type that just likes to have some downtime too. And so she would be just as happy if we went to Sainsbury's and loaded up on snacks and went back to the hotel and read for an afternoon as she would if we did anything else. I'm sure of it. So I probably will take a couple with me because I do think we'll have some reading experiences, but I'm also hoping to visit some bookshops there and come home with a whole load of books. So, I don't know. There's a quote out there by somebody that says something like, when I have a little money, I buy books, and if I have anything left over, I buy food. And so, yeah, I'll have to be like, when I pack for England, I make room for books. And if there's any room left over, I take clothes. I don't know. Anyway, guys, hope you're having a great day. Let me know if you're going to enjoy this challenge. Check out the link down below if you're not familiar with it. And I hope everybody's having a great March. See you soon. Bye-bye.